you obviously can do that now because you are under a tornado warning. Eric, I'm going to send it over to you briefly. Actually, let me track this first, then we'll bring you in. So here's the latest track on this tornado warning for Stark and Wayne until 9:15. We're really talking about eastern Wayne County, western Stark County. You can see here Bauman 840, Massillon 905, Massillon 905, Perry 912, Canton. And we talk about southwest Canton, southwest of downtown Canton. That's where the storm is likely going to go. 922. That means I-77 at about 25 after 9. Howenstein 930 and then Osnaburg 936. This is all Stark County stuff. Eric, I wanted to ask you, the Weather Service just reissued this. Do we have any more info? Still Doppler radar indicated, correct?
It is. They have not given us any additional information other than the issuance of the new tornado warning. If I had to take a guess, what's happening is we're actually seeing this storm basically ingest a little bit better dynamics. Again, we have not seen a whole lot of rain or thunderstorm activity down this direction, and I'm going to have to continue to turn off the lightning as I toggle between some of these products here. So give me one moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of data going into the system right now. Lightning, we've had so many lightning strikes. And I think, Erica, what you're talking about is while perhaps the reflectivity or our radar doesn't look all that impressive, the storm itself is wrapping in more, right?
Yeah, it is, and we're actually starting to see a little bit more of that kind of kidney bean shape to it, where that's usually a good indication that you have some type of inflow within this storm that's causing it to have some rotation. So this is where its inflow is. We're starting to get that wraparound here on the back side, and that's correlating with where we're still seeing some relatively strong signatures that we still have persistent rotation, basically right in there. I know they just updated here, so I'll draw a new track here. But this is kind of the main area. It's just to the southeast of the Orville area where I do think we have some of the strongest rotation. Again, it is just radar indicated. We have not heard of any reports of any funnels, but if you do live, say, in Massillon, Orville, Brewster, Navarra, Dalton, North Lawrence, and Perry Heights, those are kind of some of the main locations that they're calling out for where we have the potential to see this tornado if it does develop across the area.
Good information there. And there is the potential problem here. We've got the winds, again, in different directions. It's not a classic couplet that you would look at in a big area of wind and say, there it is. It's kind of tough because it's along the leading edge of a whole lot of wind. Again, we've got wind canal Fulton to Barberton. We've got big time rain and wind out towards the lake area as you head up into portions of Summit and Portage County as well. I mean, look at this wind right here, Erica. We've got most likely that's easily a 60-mile-per-hour gust outside of Akron. There it is, 60-mile-per-hour gust outside of Akron, north of Canton here. So 60 to 70 is most likely here. This is a damaging wind event right now, moving south and east of Akron, south of Interstate 76. Let's zoom in a couple of towns here to just let folks know. This is out of Summit County. This is basically here from Atwater, Randolph to Suffield right along 224 and 43. You see that very bright color. That's where we have at least a 60 to 70 mile-per-hour wind gust crossing over 224, and there it is, 64 miles per hour. So that is most likely at least blowing that hard down in this area here as you move north of Canton and also off to the south and east of Akron. This is in south central Portage County. So there's the latest right here at the bottom of your screen. Wayne County, Stark County, tornado warning. We have to change that time, by the way, guys, until 9:15 on this warning. The 8:45 warning has been replaced, so to speak, by this particular warning. It's the same cell, but the warning goes until 9:15 for Wayne and Stark County. So this warning will basically fizzle away at 8:45, and then we have our brand new one. Boy, Orville. Orville is a very populated area, very populated town, beautiful part of northern Ohio outside of Worcester. It is past time to get to your safe spot here in the town of Orville as that rotation is just off to your south and east right there as this cell continues to eventually push through Wayne County and into Stark County. It's actually taken a little bit more of a southerly track versus moving just northwest to southeast. It's turning a little more southerly, and that can tend to happen on a cell that is spinning a little bit. It goes towards kind of where the air is a little bit more juicy. All right, Massillon here. You have some time. time, Massillon 908, but not a lot of time. We've been talking about Massillon for a while. Bethlehem 916, Bolivar 928, Zoar 935. Now this would be down in Dover, New Philly in Tuscarawas County. So we'll see if it maintains that type of intensity and that type of strength. But it certainly is still showing signs of rotation. This rotation could easily be near ground level. So if you're in those towns or if you're in anywhere here, Oroville and east in Wayne County, especially Oroville, south and east in Wayne County, you want to get to your safe spot again. Down the lowest point of your home. We talk about this a lot. So go down to the basement, get under something sturdy. A table works because you have to figure if this is coming towards your house or knocks a tree down, whatever the case may be, the house could be damaged. And we don't say that to scare you. We just say that because that's reality. We report on this when we do have severe weather. Get under something sturdy, under a table if you can, certainly in the basement, and you want to stay there. Keep cover until the storm passes. Always try to cover your head if you can. If you don't have a basement interior portion of your home, in a closet, in a bathroom is also a good idea. Folks lay in the bathtub with a mattress on top sometimes is not a bad idea. I know it sounds crazy. It's not a bad idea at all. And the key is to just don't go outside, and you want to stay away from windows because flying debris outside can bust through a window. It can be something as small as a twig that if it comes with the right velocity, it could break through a window, and you don't want that to happen. You want to stay away from those windows. All right, there's a look at where we've got that rotation. Again, it is 8:45. Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas here, along with meteorologist Erica Page. We are keeping you updated on a tornado warning that was issued roughly half an hour ago, about 12 or 13 minutes after 8 o'clock. We were on the air, and we've been walking you through this. Once it moved into southern Medina County, now it's in eastern Wayne County, and it is eventually here in the next few moments going to pass into western portions of Stark County. That's why we have a 19 first alert weather day. You see this right there, that little notch, if you're in Dalton right now, just off to the north and east of Dalton. This is US 30, Erica. That's not good because that's a very heavily traveled area right along the border of Wayne and Stark County. If we ever have tornadoes, we'd love to see them out in the middle of nowhere with no roads. This is not in the middle of nowhere with no roads. We've got 77 over here. We've got US 30 here. We had 57. We had 585. Not what you want to see. It's going to pass over 93 as well. And boy, move into western Stark. So I can't emphasize this enough. Massillon, you've got some time. Massillon's a very large community. Now's the time to get to your safe spot. Lawrence, by the way, is getting pummeled with very strong winds. 50, 60 miles per hour plus. There it is, right there, in and around Lawrence. Jackson as well. Here's Interstate 77. Now, downtown Canton, if you're watching from downtown Canton, just keep an eye. Keep an eye to what we're doing because as of now, I'm not going to say, hey, Canton, go to your safe spot because this is still pretty far away. But definitely be monitoring it. You're not underneath the tornado warning. But if this potential tornado, continued on its track, it would pass potentially just south of downtown Canton at about 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. And that's also when this storm will pass over I-77. Wow, we were able to not have a tornado warning until 8:15 tonight. We had a bunch of wind, we had a bunch of hail, and now, of course, we are dealing with this tornado warning, and that's why we are on the air. Again, most important thing we do here at the television station at 19 News is severe weather and tornado warning. So that's why we're on right now, interrupting programming. We don't want to be on, but this is what we do. Stark, Wayne until 9:15. It's still in Wayne County, the worst part of the storm. Boy, looking at the radar, it's hard to see, but you certainly have a little bit of a curly Q there. This is south of US 30. We've got a little notch there, and also out towards 93 south of Canal Fulton. It's really, Erica, that velocity product that gives us the idea of where that tornado might be, as well as our debris tracker. Now, we looked at the debris tracker earlier, Erica. We didn't see much on it. Let's see if anything's changed. Okay, we've got a little bit of action there south of Massillon. That's not really the worst part of it. Probably some wind blowing things around here, right? I don't see anything real definitive looking at this. Would you agree?
No, I really don't. This looks to be like it's just rotation within the thunderstorm. What we may be seeing this storm doing is actually cycling just a little bit. One thing I want to look at, if you'll give me a moment, this is our vertically integrated liquid. So ignore what the banner says just for a second. So basically what you see, okay, if we go back, this is 840. You see Oroville, you see up towards Marshallville. We've got some lighter green colors, but not quite as dark green. But now we're starting to get almost this second lobe forming down on the southern side. So what may be happening is we're actually getting a little bit more organization from, it's almost like this storm is just kind of splitting apart just a bit more, still raining all over. So that's why it's going to be really hard to say that definitively. But I think that's also why we're starting to get that little bit of a split in some of our reflectivity, where the rain is not quite as hard coming down along State Route 93, taking you up there into Canal Fulton. And that's really where we do have some of that rotation, or we did have some of that rotation that was being noted as it was kind of being ingested within that storm. So there's a lot of things to monitor right now. It does look like the rotation is relatively broad. Again, you don't really see those reds and those greens really close together, but we might be getting into an area too where the radar, if that rotation is very subtle and it's closer to the ground, the radar just may not be picking up on that.
Yeah, that's
the storm goes up.
Right. That's another challenge. We are quite a bit away from the Cleveland radar here, not that far, but we're getting there once we get south of Canton. I know I always say US 30 is kind of the time where, boy, harder to get better data, because again, we're shooting from up here at Hopkins Airport and then shooting all the way down. So we're detecting the winds about 50 miles, 40, 50 miles away from the radar. So while this gives us very good information, again, we're not close enough to Pittsburgh yet to switch on our Pittsburgh radar, but we're getting there. A few more, perhaps. If we're on the air here after 9:15, that would most likely change. So there's Massillon right there. Again, the Weather Service reissued this just because there was just not enough data, not enough scans where this rotation disappeared. So right now, it is crossing over the county line from Wayne County into Stark County as we speak. So Dalton, still some pretty rough weather just off to your east. This storm, at least the most dangerous part of this storm where we have that rotation right now, again, it is pretty broad. It's fairly weak, but it is crossing over US 30 as we speak. So this is Massillon, really just off to the south of Massillon here. There's 172. There's US 30 right there. There's 93. There's the town of Brewster. Brewster has a history of several tornadoes seemingly touching down in that community over the years working here in northern Ohio. It seems like we've reported on a lot of those down in that particular area. Notice, though, right now out of Wayne County. Now, Wayne is still under the tornado warning, but in the next 5 minutes, for the most part, the danger, at least the tornadic danger of this storm, will have passed Wayne County. Orville, everything has certainly calmed down a little bit, still windy and rainy, but again, the leading edge right here of this wind, where you've got the green here, pretty diffuse as we call it in Brewster, that's wind flowing into this storm right now, and then we've got wind wrapping around it on the north side of it. So you got that little bit of that hook that is developed here, not only on the velocity product, to a lesser extent on our radar product too, and then Erica was also looking inside the storm at how much vertical liquid was in the storm as well, which gives you a sign of if the storm is strengthening, if it's weakening, and where that is happening. That is also really helpful when we talk about severe weather analysis and what a storm, the evolution of a storm and what it does, because it's hard for a supercell storm or even a storm along this line to continue at the pace that it has been with that rotation. Sometimes it'll lose it as it weakens a little bit, and then it could get going again. So it's important to analyze all those different aspects. Bethlehem 909, Bolivar 918, on into East Sparta 926, Sandy 933, Valley View 947. That would be off into Tuscarawas County. That would mean crossing 77. We'll see what happens. Again, the time here is 8:53, 8:52, so the sun is setting. A lot of times these storms, as the sun sets, they will weaken and lose the potential for that spin up or lose the potential of producing a tornado. In this particular case, though, we're on the air because of the warning until 9:15. We've had a lot of power outages as well. We've had reports of ping pong ball hail out in the Brooklyn area up towards the airport. We've also had an 81-mile-per-hour wind gust today. So to say this was a busy day is certainly an understatement. We'd love to make it through with minimal property damage, and hopefully everyone, that's always our hope, and we pray for that, everyone also stays safe. That's why it's so important to give you a heads up on an alert day. We were talking about this 2 days ago, and to follow through on the complete day, and of course the severe weather coverage. Yeah, there it is. We're circling where that tornado may be. So about to cross over 241 here, and then eventually 93. The town of Brewster is right below the banner, and you can see the circle there is where that likely tornado, if we do have a tornado, where that tornado is likely occurring, right along that leading edge. There's Dalton. Dalton, the worst has passed you. There's the town of Massillon. So Massillon, If you live southwest of Massillon, looks like that's where the worst part of the storm is, although really tricky, Erica, because you've got 60-mile-an-hour winds just off to your north in Massillon, and then you've got rotation just a few miles to your south. And look at Jackson. I mean, we've got some very strong winds from Massillon to Jackson to Lawrence, 60-plus mile-an-hour wind gusts. There's the strongest wind gust, by the way, right along the Stark-Portage County border. My goodness, this could be approaching 70 miles per hour up there.
Yeah, it could. And, you know, I'm trying to see if the National Weather Service is really giving us any additional information. Right now, they're not. They're deciding to continue the tornado warning for Stark as well as Wayne counties, basically noting the rotation that we've been saying over Dalton, moving southeast at 30 miles per hour. I want to take a look really quickly at reflectivity, because I think this is really kind of where they're honing in on the potential that we have a little bit of that rotation for the tornado potentially. Yep. And it's basically right in there. Okay. From what I'm seeing based off of velocity as well as our reflectivity products, which for those of you at home, this is reflectivity when we mention those words. This is what you're used to seeing on radar. It's how we measure a lot of the raindrops that are falling. The brighter the colors doesn't always necessarily mean severe weather. It usually just means you have a heavier concentration of rain in those particular areas, but it often does correlate usually with strong to severe thunderstorms. So again, we'll throw the velocity product back on. So again, this is sampling some of those winds within the storm. And really, it still looks relatively broad in terms of the rotation, but right now it does look like the best area for rotation right on 241, just to the north of the Brewster area. My guess is if it continues to the track down to the southeast, it's almost going to split Brewster and Bethlehem in terms of a track.
Yeah, good information there, Erica. Again, yeah, Brewster and Bethlehem, as you mentioned, right there where that spin is, outside of Massillon. Thankfully, looks like the worst part of the storm will be southwest of Massillon. That is good. We love, we don't like tornado warnings at all, but if they're going to hit and they're going to happen, we love them to be in the middle of the field, not in a community. And this one at least will not really hit Massillon. I don't think Canton is really going to be affected by this either, but I don't want to speak too soon because we've got a very strong wind event also happening in Massillon and Canton, and in many aspects, a 60 to 70 mile per hour straight line wind event could be worse in some cases than a tornado warning if the tornado doesn't touch down. So that's why, we mentioned that with these very strong winds. Again, this is a big time wind gust. I'd love to sample some of that. Yeah, 60, 70 miles per hour easily. This is northern Stark County. Obviously, a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect there. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings basically all throughout northern Ohio right now, all along this line of rain and wind that has blown through. It started out over towards Detroit. It moved into southern Canada. It moved over the lake. It moved on shore, and now it's moving inland, and it's starting to spin up just a little bit as well. So these wind gusts here, at last report, look at this. Alliance 50 to 60, Lake 60 to 70 as these winds come out of Portage County into portions of northern Stark County as we speak. Massillon getting slammed. There's the potential tornado right down there. That's kind of the reason we're on the air. That is absolutely the reason we're on the air. And this tornado warning, again, was issued roughly at about 12 or 13 after 8 o'clock, and now we're coming up on 9 o'clock. And you can see, yeah, we've circled where that rotation most likely is. Let's get a fresh track on this, Erica, if we could, because that's the most important part, is to let folks know where this storm potentially is heading. And we do certainly have that potential strengthening of this cell, in fact. Take a look here, moving off to the south and east at 30 miles per hour. Brewster, 907. So Brewster, you've got 10 minutes as this storm passes, most likely just to your north. Bethlehem, 915. Bolivar, if this holds together, this is into portions of Tuscarawas County, 924, Mineral City, and then Rose, 935 and 943. So this is almost out of Wayne County. Wayne is still under the warning here for the next few moments, but it is right on the border of Stark and Wayne County. It is now passed across US 30. It has passed off to the east of Route 94, certainly east of 57. Well to the south and east of the larger town of Orrville here. And boy, Brewster and Bethlehem right here, you guys in those towns, if you live in and around Brewster or the town of Bethlehem, now is the time. It's actually past time to take cover right now. Get to your safe spot because we do have pretty good rotation. We've got some winds blowing into this storm from the south. So we're getting that flow into this storm, and it certainly is wrapping around itself. Winds moving in the red are away from the radar. Winds in the green towards the radar. So there you have it, right where that circle is as this storm really now is crossing into Stark County. Did they move Wayne out of the warning there, Erica?
Okay. Wayne has been canceled from the warning, so it is just in effect for Stark County until 9:15. Basically noting exactly what we've been talking about, the rotation right over Brewster.
Yeah, just to the north of Brewster, really, to be specific. And so thankfully, Wayne, we can sound the all clear on Wayne control room. It's only Stark, and the out time is still 9:15. All right, now we're starting to get south now. We're getting kind of far away from our radar. I don't think Pittsburgh's in play yet, Erica, but we're getting to that point. Notice the very strong winds from Massillon to Canton, and then also we've got the winds up to the north and east. Let's go ahead and we have to track this here at 30 miles per hour. Bethlehem 914, Bolivar 923, East Sparta 930 as it moves south and east. This is through Stark County. So we're talking about I-77 here. We talked about this earlier, about 20 after 9. That's the potential time for this storm to cross 77. If you have friends or family out on the roads and they're taking 77, you might want to tell them, hey, pull over a little bit, wait until about 9:30 to cross 77 if they can time it out that way. Maybe they're coming up from the south. A lot of folks traveling here in the summer. And then that's not a good place to be. You don't want to try to outrun this thing. You don't want to try to beat it. It's a good idea in general with these very strong winds to try to wait this thing out. Now, as far as the rotation goes, the rotation will cross over 77 and no longer be an issue. These strong winds will actually ride down 77, perhaps a little far off to the east of I-77 here. So it's a relatively small tornado warning right now, but it is a tornado warning. 9:15 for Stark County. And we're talking about western Stark County, out of Wayne County and south of Jackson, and most likely south of Canton here as well. That is certainly good news for Canton. Bethlehem, there's 914, and this is eventually here. This is Tuscarawas County right here. So this storm is going to pass into Tusk over the next few moments. There's Canton. I knew it was there for some reason, was not on because we were tracking. There's Canton. Canton right now getting hit with a very strong wind gust, 50, 60 miles per hour, batting down the hatches in Canton. There's the rotation right there, south and east of Canton. So really, as we zoom in, downtown Canton, while you guys are getting hit with very strong winds, we're not seeing much of a rotation. Now, we got a little bit of some trouble over towards the Louisville area. Doesn't look all that organized. Very strong winds in Alliance. Look at these numbers. 60, 70 mile per hour wind speeds. And a lot of times with severe thunderstorm warnings, it'll be a large storm and you've got like a small compact area of where we've got those very strong winds. Not in this case, not with this severe weather tonight. This severe weather tonight is doing basically mile after mile of strong winds. These are large areas of this bright pink, even this whiter color around Alliance. Normally we'd see those in a lot less places or just right on the leading edge, and not the case. This storm has really maintained its intensity, and it's encountered very rich, energy filled atmosphere, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. So again, resetting here briefly here, 9:02 is my current time. 9:15 is the out time on this tornado warning for Stark County, which would mean we've been on the air here roughly 45 or so minutes. We were on earlier for that very unusual, destructive, severe thunderstorm warning. That's the official verbiage on that particular storm due to 80 mile per hour wind gusts. And by the way, that 80 mile per hour wind gust in Lake County was confirmed off of Fairport Harbor, an 81 mile per hour wind gust. So there was a reason for that particular unusual and rare warning. There's Bethlehem right there. We've got a little bit of that notch there, Erica. Nothing that I would look at and go, oh my goodness, but it's close enough to where this has had a history, pretty diffuse, pretty broad, as we say, crossing US 30 right now, out of Wayne County. You see that little bit inside of this storm there right along US 30. If we do have a tornado, that's where it is. So again, crossing US 30, Bethlehem, get to your safe spot. If you're in this storm's path and you live in Brewster, Bethlehem, or you live 5 to 10 miles outside of it, especially in Wayne County, I would say Mount Eaton, you guys are fine. Dalton, of course, is fine as well. It's a good time to get to your safe spot. As many walls between you and the storm as possible. We always say away from windows. Don't try to go outside and see if you can see this thing. Believe me, if it's on the ground, it is rain, most likely a lot of rain and cloud cover around it. This is not a type of tornado like you see on YouTube or all the storm chasing videos where it's just kind of on the outer edge of that supercell. That's not really the stuff we get here in northern Ohio. I mean, there it is, Erica. We've got rain all around it. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that you can see until it's on top of you. Heavier rains out towards the Massillon area. We don't see a ton of hail anymore here. Could have a little bit of hail outside of Canton, and then again outside of North Canton, most likely pea-sized hail. Nothing like the hail that we saw earlier this evening there in the near the airport, Brooklyn, over towards Brook Park, where we had a confirmed weather spotter, a ping pong ball-sized hail. So this is our hail tracker. We can kind of look inside that storm. We're not seeing much of anything on this particular cell. Erica, anything else from as far as observations, any sheriff's reports, anything that they're adding to this information?
So this is what we have from the National Weather Service. Basically, they're also noting the rotation is pretty broad. It's weakened quite a bit. They are not right now planning to continue a new warning downstream. They're going to give it still a couple more radar scans just to confirm that this storm doesn't try and tighten up or anything. But right now, it's pretty broad, and I don't foresee, especially based off of what I see, even just on reflectivity, that there's a lot going on that they may want to reissue this downstream. So.
And sometimes that can happen. We go off the air for a minute and then it's reissued. So we know, and so a lot of times we'll be able to see that, and sometimes we'll just stay on. So again, officially 10 more minutes on this. We are always on the air with a tornado warning, so we're going to stay with you until this warning is expired. And then according to Erica and the information that we were given from the Weather Service, who issues these warnings, we don't issue the warnings. We disseminate the information, legally bound to do that, by the way. We will take a look at this as it moves towards the Bethlehem area and see if they reissue. See, now they may reissue now because we have more wind coming, a little bit more of a signature now into the storm. And that can happen. You can have a spin up in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It kind of comes down and it goes back up. And, sometimes these storms they can ebb and flow through their lifetime, through the life cycle of a particular thunderstorm or supercell thunderstorm in that case. This is US 30 right here, south of US 30. That's where the concern is, heading towards the Bethlehem area. Really right now between Brewster and Bethlehem is where we have the strongest rotation currently on First Alert Doppler. This is our velocity product where we take a look inside the storm, showing you where the winds are blowing and how they're blowing. And again, we look to that green and red close together. Remember, we are shooting pretty far away from our radar. There's Canton, by the way. And Canton, as we've been saying, is absolutely getting pounded with a 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Wind gusts all afternoon, all evening long have run between 60 and 80 miles per hour. Yeah, not much hail, right, Erica? We're not seeing much in the way of hail from this.
No, this storm, I think, is really starting to kind of gust out in some respects. So that means, we still have some areas that we'll have to monitor for rotation. Sure, you can see right there, we have still some of those greens and reds pretty close together, but it's kind of messy in terms of organization. Nothing's overly bright, which would indicate a much tighter rotation for us. So again, I haven't heard anything officially from the National Weather Service just yet. We still have another about 7 minutes or so left on this tornado warning for portions of Stark County, but yeah. I mean, the rotation in of itself is outside of the warning box right now anyways. So we'll see if they decide to reissue it, but it's not looking great at this point. We'll see, though.
We never say never, but it does look like we'll be able to get off the air here in a couple of moments. And remember, I know a lot of folks might be frustrated. You're watching from downtown Cleveland or the west side, and you go, boy, the rain moved through here an hour and a half ago. We had some hail. It was pretty bad. Now we're on the air for a tornado warning way to our south. Well, that's what we do. Again, we have a pretty large coverage area. Tornado warnings are our top priority, and that's why we have been on the air almost now an hour straight due to this warning that started in Medina County, moved its way through Wayne County, and now has moved its way all the way into southwestern Stark County outside of Canton, about to cross over 77, well, here in the next most likely 15, 20 minutes or so. Canton getting a lot of wind. Look at this wind, Erica. Wow, zooming in on that. This is unbelievable. Very strong winds just north of Louisville, 66. So, I mean, 68. I mean, these are 70-mile-an-hour gusts, and they're covering a broad stretch of area here in and around Louisville and Canton. We are going to get damaging winds reported here. Down trees, most likely power outages here in northeastern Stark County, really between Alliance and Canton there. The worst of the weather, and in many cases almost worse than a potential tornado warning as well. I want to let you know that the tornado warning, as we expected, it has been allowed to expire. Is that right, Erica?
Yes, that's correct.
That polygon is still there just because it's until 9:15. So what we're going to do is the tornado warning has expired. We're going to hop off the air. We're going to keep watching this very closely. I don't see anything that at least jumps out right now outside of a particularly strong, damaging wind event north and east of Canton that's going to roll through eastern Stark County. I don't see anything as far as rotation-wise that gives me a concern. A little bit south of Youngstown, that's over there, and really nothing back this way as well. So we will keep watching this storm. Remember, at 10 o'clock over on 43, we'll be on the air updating you, as well as 19 News at 11 o'clock. Severe warning for those counties there until 9:45. That's Tuscarawas, Carroll County, and then, of course, for Mahoning and Stark until 9:15 as well. That tornado warning, though, for Stark County has been allowed to expire. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jason Nicholas for meteorologist Erica Page, and Jeff Slauson will send you back to your regular programming.